Hello, everyone. Welcome here. My name is Eren Gökgür. I'm working in AdMob, Google AdMob team. And today, hopefully you are in the right room because we are going to be discussing the Google Ads shift to real-time bidding and consent management platform requirement changes. So I hope this conversation will be relevant for you. If you are an app publisher and monetizing with ads, especially using AdMob, this panel should be it should be very relevant for you. And I'm very excited to have two amazing guests. With me, we have Mert from MagicLab, who is the head of marketing, and Aleyna from apps. She is also managing the user acquisition efforts. And so, folks, maybe could you please briefly explain yourselves, who you are and the company that you work with? We can start with Mert.
Yeah, I'm Mert. I'm working for MagicLab as head of marketing and doing ad monetization, user acquisition, a bit of BI, just a little bit of product. And what we do at MagicLab is we have published hyper-casual games over the last 3 years, and now we are shifting our pivot to retention, actually, to hybrid casual and casual puzzle games. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. So I'm Aleyna. I am a UA manager at Apps. I'm working here for 1 year. And as in total, I have 2 years of performance marketing experience before. So Apps is a gaming company, has been founded in Ankara in 2014 by 4 people, Mert, Erdem, Burak, and Cerrah. So these 4 people are the ones who behind the game Award. It's a very popular game in Turkey. So this game has started App's game development journey, and since then we are developing and publishing games. So we have 2 titles that we promote the most. One is Fashion Battle, and other one is Drill and Collect.
Amazing. Thank you very much for the intros. So we all know that monetizing in apps can be difficult, especially nowadays. And today we will be talking about 2 big challenges in the recent history of ad monetization. We will first start with Google Ads announcement, which is the intention to move primarily on real-time bidding. No longer will be able to respond the multiple calls in mediation and the implications of it. And the second topic will be Google's new requirements for consent management platforms that will necessitate publishers serving ads in European Economic Area and UK to use a Google-certified consent management platform. So these are very crucial topics, very timely topics, and we are so lucky to have our guests that they are already doing a lot of efforts on these 2 ones. Before I continue, first I'd like to see a raise of hands. Any of you currently using any consent management platform? Can I see any raise of hands? 1, 2, okay. Any of you have access to Google's real-time bidding in their ad monetization platform? Anyone? Okay. I hope people are monetizing with ads here, right? So we have the right audience, hopefully. Cool. So first, before I delve deeper into the first question, I'd like to give a bit of a context why we are doing this panel, okay? So Google's mission is to make the information universally accessible and useful, and that's why we are committed to building new solutions that are compliant with regulatories, and we are following the changes in the evolving ecosystem. So we are here to make sure the ad-supported ecosystem is safe with our partners. So this is a mutual effort that we are trying to make this ecosystem much more sustainable. So I'd like to start with the first question, since we have people in the audience now. So this is a fairly simple question, okay? First, what type of trends that you would highlight in the recent history of ad monetization from your experience? Maybe we can start with Mert, if you like.
Yeah, on the in-app ads side, the real-time bidding has been improving in an increasing pace. So it's it's been a topic to discuss for at least 5 years of my personal witness. So currently, all of the actors are trying to work with bidders, and if they cannot, they're trying to adapt to this new reality. And aside with bidders and real-time bidding, we cannot skip to talk about the privacy regulations, which can come at different types. So they are they're starting with the Apple scan, obscuring the unique device identifiers, and go to the GDPR, which is coming at the governmental level. So we cannot skip to talk about the privacy regulations.
For several years, we have seen that the gaming industry has shape-shifted around the privacy regulation. So we watched that privacy has changed in the behaviors of the players, and it has changed the measurement for advertisers and ad networks. And right now, as a publisher and advertiser, we are taking initiative, and we are getting consent from user. And the other topic is that the gaming industry is getting smaller, so the efficiency and automation is really important in this stage. So one of the outcomes is that real-time bidding. With real-time bidding, the ad efficiency and reduced ad operations will be really important to us.
Okay, lovely. So you both mentioned real-time bidding, which is the general trend you've been observing. So particularly, how it's relevant for your business?
It is since we are working with in-app ads, and to optimize, we are using waterfalls, and in-app bidding is to improve their efficiency, improve the efficiency of the waterfall. Eventually, it will be an absurd name because waterfall and bidding is not since we are going to go to bidding, waterfall will be an absurd name. So on the bidding side, as Aleyna mentioned, there are multiple layers of efficiency. So the setup time has been gone, and the optimization time will be gone. In theory, UA side also should be improving because there won't be any specific hard floors or price limitations. And at last but not least, the human error possibility will be significantly lower because you are not going to open up 500 placements for each ad format.
I completely agree with Mert on this because my response was going to be the same. So this trend will reduce the time and efforts on waterfall bidding. So Google's shifting to real-time bidding maybe will change our revenue, positive or the negative way. But there is one point that we should consider for the user acquisition side. The Google Ads will find the most perfect fill for it. So we can expect that the CPRs are going to be much lower.
All right, so sounds like there are some hefty efficiency gains that you can reap from transitioning into real-time bidding, which sounds great. So in that regard, I know that both of you are using, you have access to Google Ads real-time bidding demand. So were you able to maybe talk through a bit about what were the metrics that you saw that changed significantly since you moved into bidding? So I guess our audience would be very curious to hear if you have any metrics that you can share with us, like how was the impact on eCPM and ARPDAU, for example. Aleyna?
Yeah. Okay, we run multiple A/B tests before we fully dive into Google bidding. So we have tested waterfall versus bidding, bidding versus hybrid with high eCPMs. In most of it, the bidding version had much more higher ARPDAU. So if I want to give a detailed example for one of our games, Fashion Battle, for interstitial, we have tested waterfall versus bidding. And for Android, I think it was around 5% increase in ARPDAU, and for iOS, it was 1% increase. So it's quite good.
So on our end, we tested pretty much the same things, like on the bidding only, bidding versus only waterfall, bidding versus hybrid waterfall, hybrid versus waterfall only. And as a result, I can say that we cannot skip bidding, because if we only monetize with waterfall placements, then we yield with lower RTU on all cases. But for the other tests, it really depends on which geo, which ad format, and which platform. For example, what works for iOS UK interstitials might not work for Philippines banner Android, so it's not always the same. But I can say that the difference is between 5 to 10% on the RTU level that we observed. Like it can be a decrease or increase. You have to do your test in order to be sure about which will work on what.
So essentially, it's a numbers game. You got to test and find the best solution for you. But sounds like testing the hybrid version first and then trying to see if it's something good for you before you roll out is the right strategy, right? And so you mentioned you both did the tests. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about how the A/B setup looked like? Did you start with one app, or you gradually rolled it to the global audience? How did the setup look like?
Like in terms of preparing to testing A/B test, there wasn't no like preparation phase or anything. So it was directly go and set up another ad placement and go for bidding, and that was it. And on the how did we started is we started with our like lowest traffic game, and we started globally to see where it's working and where it's not. And also we started with the lowest one because we wanted to see what we are taking as a risk by testing it on the bigger ones or not testing it. So when we tested it, we saw that it's working like a charm. We couldn't afford to not test on the bigger games, and we spread out to the whole portfolio.
I think it's kind of different for us because, as I mentioned before, we tested multiple versions, and we have tested for all of the geos, for all of our apps. And as a result, actually, we mostly care about the US result because it's our main target. But we were going to apply it anyway to the other geos. But in this case, the other geos' results were the same as US. So the bidding was really successful in the ARPDAO. So we didn't wait to apply for every apps. We just apply it. And I have to mention, I forgot to tell it before, the test that we run, I think the iOS banner was the one who didn't perform as much as the others. So I think we're still going with the AdMob waterfall in there.
All right, yeah, it's not a perfect system and it doesn't work for all of us, but sounds like mostly, oh, I can hear myself better now. Except iOS banner, the other formats and operation systems, you're seeing uplift, which is great, right? Cool. So I'm just recapping the KPIs of the tests. I'm wondering, what were the KPIs when it comes to evaluating the results of the tests?
The main KPI for us on any test on the monetization side is ARPU, but we are also taking a look at ARPDAU and eCPM and fill rates as well, because we want to understand what happened and why it might be happening. To understand better, we are looking at the other metrics as well.
It's ARPDAU for us, and as in the test results, we choose to go with the hybrid one with the high CPM waterfalls. It was performing much better on terms of ARPDAU.
Okay. So these are big monetary gains. Besides monetary gains, what were the pragmatic stuff that could benefit you from? Like, is it resulted in a lower ad latency or higher fill rates? Could you maybe Aleyna, if you have any thoughts on that?
There are many benefits of Google bidding, actually, and one is, I really like this example. Google bidding versus waterfall is like going to a restaurant and ordering food from the menu, just taking a look, first look, and versus it's like asking the waiter about every food on the menu. So, like with just taking a look, you will get the result faster. You will get the meal faster. So maybe other ones are like reduced human works and maybe increased ad efficiency can be one of it.
That's a nice example, the menu example. What I think on the latency side, we are not capping any price floors, and we are just getting the result at one request, and it's way more efficient on working like that, especially on the performance side and also the latency side as well. So what we developed from this gain is we started to utilize much more frequent banner refresh rates, and also we tried to implement more rewarded videos, because now we don't have to wait for 30 seconds, 40 seconds for the next ad to load. So.
All right, so the latency reduction in the time reduction in the latency allowed you to show even more ads, which
exactly.
Users will love, right? So next question. By the way, I really like the restaurant example. So, by the way, some people still choose to ask for every meal from the waitress, which is also fun, right? So that's why we have the hybrid system right now, right? Besides these monetary and technical gains, after implementing bidding or running the hybrid setup, was there any other thing that enabled you to change, like maybe having new placements or frequency capping your placements?
It's like as I said on the previous one, we saw increased number of impressions and we are able to show them. We started to refresh in a much shorter time period for banners, and we also implemented new rewarded areas to the games much more frequently, and we are able to request much more on that. So.
Yeah. One of the traditional waterfall's advantages was it to be predictable and structured way of monetization. So with traditional waterfall, you can pump up your CPMs as much as you want, because this is the thing that you get, the thing that you write in there. So not to miss big fish in the sea, we implemented a strategy that using Google bidding with high CPM ad units is going to, it's worked very good for us. So one of the things is that. And other thing is that we did periodically ad refresh to our Google ad units. So when we tested it, we saw that in the first 2 to 3 days of refreshment, the ad units perform much higher, and it's like adding the best performer creative to the same campaign with another name to get the most of it.
So obviously you are trying to maximize your revenue, and we can't blame you for that. I'm pleasantly surprised that you have some practices that's even surprising to us. But in the long run, I would suggest against using these ad refresh practices, given that Google Ads intention to bid in only once in waterfall, so wouldn't respond to calls more than one. So it might not be sustainable even. With that said, do you all agree that everyone should move to bidding now?
I think you cannot skip testing it. On the bidding side, that's something you cannot skip testing. But I cannot say like for sure you will have improved fill rates and significant improvements on everywhere. So it might not work for some placements, for some app formats, for some geos, as I said. But you have to test it, but let's not rush into it. Do your A/B testing to see where is not it's working.
My response is going to be same as Mert, because eventually Google Ads will finalize the shifting to bidding. So if you want to see your future from the now, you should start testing now and apply the best variation with Google bidding.
All right, that's great. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, we only talked about the positive sides. So it's like we talked about how efficient it is on the latency side, on the human error side, but we didn't mention anything on the how it lacks transparency, because and also how we are losing control over our traffic that we are selling. So I think the best way to move forward as an ads industry is to add the reporting side for not only for impressions, but add the response data into it too. So.
Yeah, and the shifting to the bidding, it aligns the trend that I see on the user acquisition side too, because as a user acquisition managers, we want to get everything we need at the same time. So given the reduced latency, I think it's going to be very good for the user acquisition side too.
All right. So yeah, transparency is something that has been desired by many publishers. And I can assure you that AdMob team is also building a reporting capability that would shed more light into the auction process, so that you would see other bids, who won, who did not won, why did not happen. So enough of bidding. I will shift the gears into a bit more a different aspect. My question would be now, let's say you are integrated bidding. Now with the proper consent management, do you think that in turn it would increase the relevancy of the ads and improve the advertiser performance, Aleyna?
I believe that the consent management platforms, or the system, is trying to give us a more user privacy conscious ecosystem. So plus with the real-time bidding, you can expect that your ads will be shown to a right person at the right time when the consent is given. The consent is really important part of this. So I think this is all of the marketing people's dream.
All right, thanks for sharing your dreams. Now, I will capitalize on this example to move into a bit of a consent management platform, which is the second piece of our panel. We are going to spend maybe 7 minutes here. Mert, I guess I will keep you silent for a while. I will stick with Aleyna, as she's quite an expert on the consent management, as Apps team is, the company she works for is quite expert on that. So obviously, we want to show relevant ads. We want the system to be as perfect as possible. We want to make advertisers happy, but users are also demanding for privacy. So that's why there has to be a system in place to help users to share their consent in the right way. That's why Google is trying to standardize the consent management process. That's why 16th of January 2024, it's going to be mandatory requirement for all the publishers who are using AdMob to use a Google certified CMP, consent management platform, to be able to serve ads in GDPR regions, which are European Economic Region plus UK. So in that regard, interesting question. So because GDPR was introduced back in 2018, why do you think that it's now off the charts and everyone's importance list?
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned in the beginning of this panel, the privacy regulations are really hot topic right now. So providing with transparency and more control to the user on their data, it's really important and sensitive topic. So players, users like me, are really are really into to protect their data. So as we see, Google is very committed on this too. So Google is kind of forcing us, or like forcing the AdMob users to use a Google certified CMP by January 16th. I think this is the thing that makes us go for CMP right now.
Okay, so because we have the timeline deadline,
Yeah.
this is what makes you take action. Thank you very much for being very responsible on this front as well. I like to draw some parallels between this change and the changes prior to that. So many of you might remember when first time the app.txt mechanism was introduced. It was introduced in order to have more transparency on the advertisement ecosystem, right? And we quickly moved into there, and now it's an industry standard. So seems like now we are in the process of making sure that consent management processes are streamlined in a way that it's standard, so that users are expecting it, and it's an integral part of the ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. So because users are demanding, we are trying to give the solution out to their hands. But what about publishers? So what's the implication for the publisher?
If we don't adopt Google certified CMPs by January 16, 2024, our ads going to be served only limited way. So as I mean in a limited way, like there will be no Google demand for your ads. So I think if you're using Google right now, it's very important to you, as like we do. So you will want to use the CMP just before its due date.
Okay, so no ads sounds really scary.
Really.
So, all right. And with that said, so it sounds like the case is like this. Users want some privacy, and that privacy comes with a cost to advertisers and publishers. In that regard, all of us got to approach this responsibly, right? And what do you, so you mentioned the ads will not be served, but what do you imagine that the impact would be for the ecosystem?
For personalized ads, for the people who give consent, I think the performance is going to stay the same. But some advertisers, some publishers, they are only focused on some specific audiences, so it's going to be it's going to be hard for them.
Got it. Yeah, might be. Could you maybe also enlighten us with your consent management flow so that the audience can get an understanding of how the flow looks like?
We're using Google's AdMob's CMP for it. Our consent management flow starts when user first opens the app. We show a pop-up screen with two main points to give consent. We ask the user if you want us to serve personalized ads to you, and the other one is transparency and control of the user data. So the user have two choices to give in here. One is confirm it, give consent, and other thing is manage the options. So if the user clicks manage options, they can enable or disable the data they want to share, and they can click confirm, confirm and not to give consent, and they can click accept all and give consent anyway. So we are making kind of hard on this. So and after that, after the consent collection, the Google AdMob's CMP gathers those data and turns them into TC strings with using TCF IAB standards. And those TC strings are now passed to Google and its vendors and stored in there. And the user now will see ads from Google according to their consent selection. They will see personalized ads or not.
Yeah, that sounds very easy, but you are so happy that I guess the CMP tool is taking care of all the stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. How did the integration look like?
The integration, I cannot speak behalf on other CMPs because I never used them before. I didn't use it. But for the Google solution, you will need an UMP SDK for it. So you can, after the SDK integration, you can go to AdMob page and go to privacy and messaging section and create your GDPR message in there. For us, the implementation process took 1 to 2 weeks. I am not sure. So, but it's going to be different for you because we implemented CMP in the very early stages when Google first made the announcement. And plus, we only had one developer working on it. But right now, I know that Google has automated this process, and it's going to be very faster for you.
All right, that's great. So my final question to you, Aleyna, would be, how did you come up with the selection of your current CMP?
As apps, my company has used a CMP before AdMob, and it was more complex and more qualified than AdMob's, and it was paid. For GDPR, we have assessed our needs. It was getting the consent and passing it to Google. So after the assessment, we decided that we will go for AdMob's option, and sorry, it was basic. The AdMob selection, it was basic, and it provided as much as we need, and it was free. I think to be free, it's the
Everyone
most
likes
important
free stuff,
one.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we all do.
But I have to mention that the AdMob's product is very limited when it comes to capabilities. So it's very good for CMP. It's very good for getting the consent and passing it. But for the other parts, the UX and the customization is very limited. So you can only change some colors and some buttons, but not the other things. And another thing is important, that you can't A/B test different pop-ups. So you will have to use them one by one and evaluate the results after it. So maybe you can evaluate your needs and go for the best one.
All right. So thank you very much for sharing your experience. Before we recap, I want to turn to you, Mert, for the last time. Sorry for keeping you silent for a while. As my current knowledge tells me, you are still yet to finalize your CMP selection. So how the process looks like for you?
It's a similar story for us, except we didn't integrate with any solution that we are, since there is a deadline, we are a bit alerted, and I feel like the clock is ticking, and now our decision process is rather simple. We will go for a partner that will be there for a long term, and that will be reliable. And like after what I hear, AdMob solution will be on the list to evaluate, but we will see. We have to talk about this solution afterwards of this in detail.
Yeah, you can catch up with Aleyna, right? All right. So that's the content that we prepared for you guys. Thank you very much for helping us understand even more the newest, let's say, regulatory and evolving changes in the industry. So it's very timely because now we have 2 takeaways. Maybe I can do the recap now. Google Ads intends to transition into real-time bidding, which the deadline is 31st of October. So by 31st of October, Google Ads will not fill the multiple calls on mediation, which requires you to be on a hybrid or bidding-only setup. Secondly, we talked about CMP, Consent Management Platform. Of January 14th, 2024, you need to have a Google-certified CMP process so that Google AdMob will still make you more revenue, right? So these are very timely changes. Again, I'd like you to give our panelists a round of applause as they share their insights.